So some of this might be quite random and not be what you're expecting. So for someone who's worked in the NHS for 10 years, what's your thoughts on the whole Russell Brand situation?
Oh, I'm not going to lie, I've probably tried to kind of stay away from some of it over the last couple of days, but I think it's been hard to miss. But I don't know. I think I have issues probably with the media since probably COVID, and I've say this to actually so many people just now that I think I can't watch the news anymore. I think because every day during COVID, when I was having to work in the hospitals, I was coming home and like glued to the screen, and now that I think it just seems to pass from one big story to the next. And I'm not saying that obviously it's a huge bunch of allegations that are getting made, but I don't know. It's tricky. I think that it needs to be dealt with very appropriately, and I think even though that I think we need to remember what people are still coming out with big accusations here, and I think we need to tread the water really carefully and stuff.
Planted on the fence. I'm the same.
It's so difficult. I
had the same feeling with the news during COVID, and so I'd moved back from Australia straight into the second lockdown. And me and my dad would have a daily argument about, like, I would just switch the news off and he'd switch it back on, and then I would like maybe go out a walk and come back and he'd be like distraught and like in distress, and they'd be talking about like lockdown maybe not ending for like 4 months, and I'd be like, we need to know this stuff, and I was like, I will know. I won't be allowed, the shop won't be open. The pub won't be like, do you know what I mean? I was like, I'll know. I don't need to hear about it all day.
I know.
So I would switch off and he'd go, no, we need to know. I'm like, I fucking don't.
I think, it got to the point, I think, where, I don't know, I'd maybe come home and chuck the news on with my dinner and stuff, like pre-COVID. And then I think because I came home and we were having to deal with the issues of COVID so relentlessly every day, that I think coming home and seeing what other countries were experiencing, hearing death rates and whatever else, it was the totally death rates triggering me.
And I remember hearing other people talking about it, that they would choose the most shocking death rate from whichever country it was, not just giving you the stats, because they just were trying to keep your interest as well. I think with the Russell Brand thing, if I'm honest, what kind of scares me is like my visceral reaction is like hoping that he's innocent. And I think a lot of people just react on that, but I'm open to him. Like, but like my visceral feeling is probably because I'm a male going, I hope like I liked him, but and then I watched some of it and I was like, well, there could be room here, but then I don't know.
I think it's tricky. Whatever we get told in the media, we're only going to get half the story. And I think the tricky thing is that he has obviously had a background of things that he's been so open about, which I don't know whether that's a good or a bad thing. And I think the frustrating thing,
maybe covering, but you don't know.
I don't know, or the fact that he's it's difficult. But I think just now he's definitely maybe a 50-50 kind of person. Some people love him, some people hate him, and I think that's a tricky thing, that the news is only ever going to give us the downside of, you know, both aspects of whether it's the accusations that are getting made or whether it's on Russell Brand himself. That most of the time I'm just like, no, I can't deal with it.
I know I'm talking about it on a podcast, but in general, I try to avoid these conversations like the plague. Like any of the movements, even like the Black Lives Matter thing, when people were like, "Could you post a black square?" And I'm like, mate, leave me alone. Like, all you want to do is have it. Like, people just want to have a intense argument. They've got their opinion, and all they want to do is shout their opinion at you. And I'm just like, mate, I don't want to do this. It doesn't feel nice. For any of those sort of, and it doesn't feel like you're trying to have a conversation and see each other's point of view. You're just trying to get me to have the same point of view as you. I don't like debates.
I know.
It's like politics. That's why I don't like watching it, because it's not actually like how do we make things better. It's even a lot of like coaches do it as well. It's like, no, your approach is wrong, and it's like, why are we debating this? I had this conversation, so I think I told this in a podcast, right? A guy made so I'll go into it. So he commented twice, and he might listen to this, I don't know if he will, but he'd clearly just took a dislike to my videos. But he just went, I don't like this guy anymore, and I think he'd like me at one point. And I think I was just making the argument that I think people should maybe prioritise weights over cardio at the start. And like, I wasn't bashing any of them. I wasn't saying don't do any of them. I was like, I maybe think you might see a bit quicker result, or like you might see results and it might spark you to do some sort of exercise. And he was like, why are you bashing cardio so much? And then I ignored the first two, and then he said something, and then I went on his profile and it was all CrossFit stuff, and I went like that, oh, makes sense, you're a CrossFit gimp. And by the way,
you hear?
I've been to CrossFit like 5 times, and I think in like a year or two I'll probably transfer over to CrossFit. I was just getting bored of him digs at me, so I just chose the easiest dig back, and then he made a full 2-minute video about me. God. And he, like no offense to me, took everything I've ever said out of context, and but I messaged him. I was like, mate, I don't care about any of this. I was like, I'm not gonna put it on my story and say and back myself up or anything. And I was like, if me and you were sitting next to each other, we have the same goal, and you just have, and like honestly, if you spoke to me about like my thoughts on cardio, they're probably very similar to yours. We don't need to argue about it. Do
you know what I think? It's a lot to do with like the kind of fitness world though, that it's so like overly saturated. Like there's so many people trying to make their way in the fitness industry that I think if you are either, I don't know, maybe seen as a threat, or I don't know, looking for someone to be maybe controversial to start that argument, that's often where, I don't know, on social media trends come up and whatever else that people start slating someone else, sharing it, all this kind of stuff. And sometimes I think it's almost like clickbait.
Yeah, it's like drama gets views into it. Yeah,
and I think that's a tricky thing. Probably, I guess, more with fitness industry maybe, but nutrition spaces like that as well, where people are just... I think probably I post more nutrition stuff because that's like my main area, but the number of... Everyone has an opinion on nutrition. So even though people are obviously entitled to have their opinion on things and on food and whatever else, I think when you, for example, I'm sure we'll go on to talking about it, but things like carbs and whatever else, that is such an emotive topic for so many people that if I have ever posted things on carbs and stuff before, it would be, I would get a lot of stick in comments. But for me, I'm just like, I'm sharing what evidence and information I can give you so that you can make more informed choices about your health. If comments and stuff are in there, I just try not interact with them and stuff, because I'm like, at the end of the day, you can take the information as you want and then do with it as you will.
One of the biggest lessons I've learned is it never ever feels good to reply to those comments. I hadn't done it in like 6 months, but he's doing my head in. So I just called him a CrossFit gimp, and then I got a 2-minute video made about me. I was like, learned the lesson.
Yeah.